Hi everybody, I'm Steve, and I'll be joined by some of the lettings team. They'll be coming in here shortly. This is just a quick video brief to update you on our preparations for rent reform. Um, it's not going to be one of those free downloads, no scaremongering. We just felt that this was the best way to explain the practical guidance that we're giving landlords for getting ready for rent reform. Uh, we have been issuing guidance so far on our website, on the web page here under the news page. Practical step-by-step guidance on what we're doing. In short, if you're a managed customer or if you are a rent collection customer, then we've done it all for you. You know, you are ready. For tenant find landlords, we have done some of the things for you, but not everything. So it's important that you understand what the regulations are. You're being held directly accountable under the new laws. So it's important you understand what those things are and what we have done for you. Okay, I'm now going to be handing over to Candice. She's going to now cover a couple of the steps. Again, you'll see more on the news page on the website, but she'll cover the first couple of steps there for you, just to show you what we're doing on compliance audit and what the written statement provisions are.
Hi, Steve. Yeah, thank you so much. So, on the compliance audit side, the legislation is expected to be much stricter in terms of compliance requirements, particularly in relation to gas safety certificates, EPC, and EICRs. As a managed service with Clarks, we already have control of basically all of our compliance, but we are also going through the process of auditing all our properties to ensure that we are compliant. Unfortunately for landlords, they are now directly liable, and failure to meet these standards could potentially result in significant penalties for landlords, which can range from a few £1,000s to, I think it was up to £30,000 per breach. So it is really very important for landlords to ensure that compliance audits are done in their properties, and particularly for the tenant find properties or the tenant find landlords. Those landlords ought really to have a deeper look into whether they have their certificates up to date. With the written statement provisions as well, one of the other very important aspects of renters' rights reform is the information sheet that must be submitted to the tenants or have to be provided to the tenants. We've recently issued a newsletter that touched a bit on this, providing reassurance that all of our tenants are already set up and in process to receive this information sheet on the 1st of May. A key part of the written information sheet, obviously, that must be provided to the tenants is not just that we're able to prove that we have provided this to the tenants. It's not just about sending the information, but also about being able to prove with evidence that, it has been sent and that they have confirmed that they had wanted to receive it in that manner, if that makes sense. So the tenant has acknowledged or consented receiving it in that manner. To make sure we are fully compliant with these requirements, we've now put procedures in place really within our management processes to record both the delivery and tenant acknowledgement. Everything is properly documented and auditable, and we can trace that for the landlords. We have also got, and I'll quickly show you, the written statement proof of service over here. This is the proof of the delivery section over here, and that the tenant has consented to receive it in that means. And ideally, we want to have that audit trail, as I've just briefly mentioned, where we can prove that they are in receipt of that document as well. Just coming back to the compliance audit side quickly, Steve, the client will, as of the 1st of May, our managed clients really, will have access to our system into the client compliance portal, and they will be able to view all their compliance documents within our client compliance portal. So the most important thing really is just to make sure that the compliance-wise all certificates are up to date and that we have the written statement provisions. But I will hand over to Olivia, who will briefly touch on the pet policy and the renters' rights insurance, and just walk that through.
Thanks, Candice, and hi everyone. Pardon me, sorry. And hi everyone. So I've been researching a bit on how to protect our landlord from some of the bigger changes going on. And anyway, yeah, I'm Olivia. Just so you know, I'm basically on the lettings team, so I do a lot of the neg stuff. But the main thing is I've been looking a lot into how to protect you guys and your properties. So the main things we've been doing so far, obviously, as normal, we go with industry leading professional referencing. So always using stuff like open banking, which always is good to verify income in real time. You always prevent fraudulent income reports. Our turnaround times are obviously super quick as a result because it's real time data. It'll always be a comprehensive sort of check, so we're always protecting you guys. So it includes credit checks, right to rent verification, identity verification, and income. So we're always making sure that the tenant can actually afford the property that they're in. And we have enhanced protections as well. So this is like high-tech tools to detect fake or modified documents and identity fraud. One of the things though that we use to protect you guys ongoing as well is rent guarantee insurance. So there'll be a new rent guarantee sort of policy that will be coming in from the first month's rent. That will be from the 1st of May. That will be basically standard for everybody. And the reason why that's so important is because it will always protect you guys from unpaid rent, and that does include from first month's rent. A big thing is that rent guarantee is a good protection because now a tenant can pay first month's rent, pay their deposit, move in on the first, say for example, the 1st of May, and can refuse to pay rent. And under the current rules or the new rules being brought in, you have to wait 3 months before you're able to get a notice from the court or to give notice in order to evict them under, well, essentially grounds they haven't paid their rent. You can do it under discretionary grounds, but it is up to the court to decide whether or not it's considered valid, and that can be quite a difficult experience, quite expensive, quite a long uphill battle. And in the meantime, your income isn't coming because the tenant is refusing to pay rent, and they can give 2 months' notice and just leave, and it's completely valid under the current rules. So it's a very interesting situation that landlords will find themselves in, and we think that this is incredibly important for making sure that you're protected. The rent guarantee actually has quite a number of benefits. It will 100% cover for the first month after possession, and it actually will subsequently cover a certain percentage for a couple of months afterwards if the property after vacant possession can't be immediately relet due to damage, stuff like that. You're basically protected from month 1, and the cost is super low. It's like from £28 a month, which is an insane deal considering the amount of protection that you get. There's always going to be a big risk under the Section 8 eviction on discretionary grounds, and frankly, you're having to wait 3 months in order to get something big to happen. And actually, another big thing is that you cannot take move-in monies until the contract is signed by both parties, and you cannot take more than 1 month's rent in the deposit. You can pay the deposit before the contract is signed, but you cannot take first month's rent, which is a very big change. So yeah, that's essentially one of the ways that we're protecting you guys. The other way that we're doing that is through some of the sort of ancillary things. They're not super big, and they're probably not even big in the news actually on the landlord side, but especially on the tenant side, you'll find this happens a lot. So everyone really should have some kind of pet policy, just to protect yourselves, to protect your property, and protect your business. It's really important that you have a solid foundation to work on. Now, if you're one of our managed properties, we've already sorted that for you. We've got a pet policy. You can see that I've got the document on there as well. And actually, I've got a very cute photo of my partner's cat as well, just for some highlighting. But we operate, as a sort of general rule, we do this. Landlords always should have 28 days as a maximum response time to any request for a pet. Now, you are allowed to reject on reasonable grounds or refuse on reasonable grounds. You're allowed to ask for more information as well. And this is especially important if you're, say, a leasehold landlord who has a superior landlord who owns the freehold. that landlord can actually refuse on any grounds. So you can actually use the argument that lease restriction is a valid refusal for a landlord. So if you own a lot of blocks of flats, probably it's worth looking into that. But yeah, that is a binding agreement as well. If a landlord agrees to have a pet, you cannot rescind that agreement as long as it's the same pet. If a tenant asks for one cat, names them Sybil, and then they say, actually, I've got 2 more cats that I want to join into this agreement, they have to get fresh permission from the landlord. So you do still have some protections and some controls, and you are allowed to be reasonable about that refusal. So, for example, the property is a small studio and you have someone who has a St. Bernard dog. That wouldn't be appropriate. We wouldn't do that. And I would expect that you guys wouldn't do that either. But those are sort of reasonable steps that we're taking to protect you guys. So I will now hand you over, and Alex will be able to speak about this section. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm going to be covering something that pertains particularly to our student landlords, but if our other landlords could please stick around because there will be some key information for you at the end. So one of the key headlines of the Renters' Rights Bill is the abolishment of the Section 21. And a lot of student landlords are now wondering, what happens if our tenants don't leave, and in terms of relet, how can we guarantee that it will be vacant ready for new tenants to move in? Now there is an eviction notice available to do that under Ground 4A of the 1988 Housing Act, if my memory serves, which means you can notify them to say that they will need possession back solely for the purpose of reletting to the student sector, and it's purely for student HMOs. So that's 3 beds and above. Now the way that we have to give this notice is you have to tell them of your intent to rely on Ground 4A of the Housing Act before you actually give the notice to say we will need the property back by X date. So for our managed landlords, don't worry, we're already doing this for you. For tenant fine landlords, it's very key to brush up on this just to make sure you don't get into any kind of hot water when it comes to getting the property back. You don't want a group waiting to check in when you've still got a group stuck in there. Now, typically, using Ground 4A, you're supposed to give 4 months' notice. Really, the earlier in the tenancy you notify them, the better. However, during this transitional period, the government have made a provision that you can do it with 2 months' notice. But it still applies that, good old bureaucracy, you have to notify them of your intent of using that notice. So it's Ground 4A of the Housing Act using Form 4A to say we are relying on this particular ground. So yeah, as I said, don't worry, we have done this for you already. If you're doing it for your own tenancy that you're managing, make sure you brush up on this because you have a very short window to get it done, to make sure that this current intake are out ready for September's intake. So I will now be passing over or back to Candice, who's just going to cover off some more things that are yet to come for you guys.
Now, I know that that's quite a bit of information for our landlords, and although I can appreciate that that must feel very overwhelming, this is exactly why we are here. We will continue to support our landlords through these changes and making sure everyone is fully prepared ahead of the new requirements coming into effect. As part of our ongoing support, we will also be assisting our landlords with areas such as, the rent guarantee insurance, as Olivia's touched on, the pet policies, compliance, and the updated Form 4A requirements. This ensuring, obviously, that we are aligned with the latest legislation and we are performing best practice. I also want to just touch base on our website, and I want to encourage landlords to really just have a look at our news tab within our website. Steve would have touched on that earlier. Have a look at those because those do update landlords on all the upcoming changes that are about to take place. We've recently launched about 3 or 4 newsletters pertaining particular to the Renters' Right Bill. So we do want to encourage landlords to please have a look at that. We will obviously continue to guide landlords and guide them through all these changes, and we will continue to update landlords where and if necessary. But landlords can also expect to see and hear a bit more from myself. I will be directly in touch with some landlords to ensure that we are compliant or updating at least to ensure that they are compliant. But landlords will most definitely be hearing and seeing a bit more from me. I'll be sending across a bit more in terms of latest news and updates in the form of newsletters, and we will send that across to all our landlords. In addition to this, our service menu is also being updated, and we will be asking landlords to ensure their details are up to date, including the completion of required AML, which is the anti-money laundering checks, where this is applicable. We will also be sending out Google Forms to all our landlords, and landlords will need to complete these to help us, please, to ensure ongoing compliance and keep all our records accurate and up to date. Thank you, Steve. Back over to yourself.
Okay, everyone, hope that was helpful. Helpful to hear from some of the team members as well. There's loads of stuff going on here. Here's just an example of the few things that we're still working on. Yeah, it's a big change for the industry. Not a massive change for us, really. Regulations have been updated for quite some time. We already have PEP policies. We've already relied on Section 8 possession grounds. We're already very well used to compliance requirements, but even so, we're bringing everything bang up to date for this new legislation. And if you have any queries, if you need any help, do get in touch, and we will be releasing more updates on the news page on the website. Okay, bye for now.